Hello everyone. In today's video, we will cover all of the variation and tricks in the Tennison Gambit. Don't forget to like and subscribe before we start. The gambit starts after knight to f3, d5, and e5. And now the most popular move for black is to take your pawn, attacking your knight. Then you will play knight to g5, attacking his pawn. And now in this position black has multiple ways to defend his pawn, as bishop to f5, knight to f6, queen to d5, or pawn to f5. I will show you traps and tricks in all of these variations, but first let's cover the most played one, which is knight to f6. You will play pawn to d3. After black takes your pawn, you will recapture with your bishop. Most of your opponents will play h6 to kick your knight, because your knight is applying pressure on their king side. But now you will play the shocking move knight to f7, forcing the king to take because you are forking the queen and the rook. After he takes, you will play bishop to g6. And it's a discovered attack on the queen. The king cannot protect the queen. So after he takes your bishop, you will win his queen. So let's check another variation right now. Now black will protect his pawn by playing bishop to f5 instead of playing knight to f6. Knight to c3, putting pressure on his e4 pawn. Knight to f6, protecting his pawn. Now queen to e2, putting pressure on the pawn for the third time. The only way for black to protect the pawn is by playing queen to d4, because the d5 square is covered by the knight. Then you will play queen to b5, forking the king, the bishop, and the pawn. The only option for black right now is to play bishop to d7. Then you take the pawn on b7. Now most of your opponents will play bishop to c6, because everything will protect each other. But now you will play bishop to b5, pinning the bishop to the king. Now black will play queen to d7, protecting the bishop, thinking that you will trade everything and have an equal position. But instead, you will take to the bishop, and after he takes back, you will play queen to c8, checkmate. So let's see this variation right now. What if black protect with his queen? You will play d3, attacking his pawn and protecting your knight with the bishop. Now black will play something like bishop to f5 or knight to f6 to protect his pawn. Then you play knight to c3, forking the queen and the pawn. So after the queen moves, you will take back his pawn, and you are ahead in development. So instead of protecting his pawn, what if he takes your pawn? You will simply recapture with the bishop. Now your opponent thinks that you made a mistake because the g2 pawn is not protected. But after he takes, you will play bishop to e4. And the queen has only one safe square, which is g4. But after you trade queens and black recaptures with his bishop, you will take the b7 pawn and the black rook is gone. Now let's check the last variation. What if he protected with his pawn? You will simply play bishop to c4, taking advantage of the weak f7 square. The only option for black is to play knight to h6, protecting the f7 square. You will play d3, and after he takes, you will just castle, so you can activate your rook. And if he takes your pawn, you will recapture with the queen, and you will have a winning position. Your plan is simply to put pressure on his f5 pawn and activate your pieces.
Focus test time. What is the correct move in this position?